Camp Fundamentals number 3. Games begin at the center jump circle.
Basketball begins at the center line and the jump circle. The referee throws the ball up in the air. The team going that way tips the ball to their player on this way. The team going that way tries to tip it to their direction, to a player and their teammate going in that direction. The person on the outside of the circle jumps up to catch the ball, similar to the fashion that the center tip-off jumps up to tip it. Jumping is the first fundamental of the game. Upon catching the ball, in basketball you don't just take off running. That would be called traveling. There's particular footwork. After catching the ball, you spin on one foot and reach and start dribbling with the other one. The spin foot is called the pivot foot. The other foot is the free foot or reach foot. The ball has to leave your hand before this foot is moved and comes back down. So it would be like this. And off to dribbling. So, at the jump circle you have jumping center for the tip-off, jumping to catch the ball as it's tipped, pivot foot, reach foot, dribble to a layup. The distance between catching the ball here and going for that layup has a particular invisible terminology that's helpful for basketball in terms of appreciating the value within invisibility. A basketball and a player are objects that have magnitude and direction. In the direction, there's speed and quickness as well as skill. Those things describe a vector. A vector is an object with magnitude, speed, and direction. It's between the player and the basket. It's invisible. It's an arrow that's out there of the momentum, the direction, speed, and the quickness that this player is taking the ball to the basket. The key term here is vector. It's an invisible reality, but it's out there. Once again, referee throws the ball up, it gets tipped. The guy in the circle jumps up and gets it. Spin foot, reach foot, go to the basket. That's where basketball begins in the game. Let's assume this is the center jump circle. The ball's been tipped and you catch the ball. You can't just take off running. Here's the proper footwork at the jump circle. You catch the ball, you spin on one foot in the direction you're going to go. You catch the ball, you spin on one foot. This is called a pivot or spin foot. The other foot is a free foot or a reach foot. So you reach and dribble to the basket then and shoot the layup. The spin foot, pivot foot cannot come back down before the ball leaves the hand. If you do, it's traveling. So here we go. We catch, spin, reach foot dribble, shoot the right-handed layup. The spin foot and the reach foot with the dribble is how to start the game at the jump circle once you catch the ball. Remember at the center jump circle, when a player around the edge jumps up and gets the ball, he pivots, dribbles to the basket for the layup. That's a basic play. Take the ball to the basket, and that assignment is anywhere. It can happen anywhere during the game. If you can, you take the ball to the basket, get the layup or the dunk. Also remember the distance from where a player is to where he's going can be designated by an arrow in that area. That is a vector space. It is a space with magnitude, direction, speed, and quickness. So a dribbler has a vector. The defense's job is to get in the vector. And when an offensive player sees a defensive player get in the vector, he can make choices of whether he's going to stop and shoot, dribble another direction, which I want to explain and show, or pass to a teammate. But the vector relationship, it's invisible, but it's there. The vector is the distance out in front of the offensive player, and it's where the defensive player attempts to get. Once an offensive player dribbling to the basket sees someone in his vector, he adds the option to do a crossover dribble. You don't wait until you get on top of the guy to make the move. You cross over soon so he can't swipe the ball as it's crossing over. Also, if that defensive guy in the vector rushes right at the offensive player, he can go behind his back with the dribble and change vector and go on and head toward the layup or a pass or wherever it takes him. He can also go between his legs. So there's 3 different types of dribble: the crossover, behind the back, or between the legs. A 4th one would be a spin dribble. Reverse spin. You're dribbling along, plant the foot and spin. Hook the ball and hook the defender. And also there's a hesitation dribble and a dribble into a pass. We'll try to show those today. If a player is dribbling up the court and a defender gets in his vector, the crossover dribble is a helpful one. The player gets here because the person can't go left, the sideline is there. So that's an extra defender. So the tension here is to stop the ball, but somebody can do a crossover dribble, the ball doesn't have to get stopped. Coming up the floor like this, plant the foot and cross over like that. That's basically the crossover dribble. Plant the foot, push the ball across and go like this. I kept the ball in close to my body too, so somebody can't grab it. Now we'll do the reverse spin dribble. As you're coming up the floor, the defense approaches to be in the vector. The offensive vector is here, the defense tries to get in that vector. Coming up like this, spin. Spin like that allows you to change direction without the defense inhibiting the vector. So that's a spin move. The spin move is another one that can be used anywhere on the court. When you make the spin, keep the ball in close, keep this arm up so somebody can't come behind and get you. Now we're going to do it between the legs. Coming up, here he is. It allows the change of vector once again. So between the legs is another one. The hesitation is real obvious. Coming up, stop for a minute and then go. Stop for a second. You can see it's very helpful to what you learn left, you also learn right. If you're coming up that side of the floor, it might be in the left hand, you have to use the crossover. Over here, we'll do it right-handed. Remember, the defense has the sideline and himself. Coming up, plant the foot and cross right over. That's the crossover. If the defense comes at the dribbler, behind the back. You see how the vector changes of the offensive player. The offensive player changes his vector by changing the dribble. Here's the spin dribble. There's the spin dribble. Between the legs. And the hesitation. Coming up here, stop for a second and then go. Now I'm going to incorporate all the dribbles to change the vector in a drill that goes around the lane. Remember, you go as slow as you have to get exact. Once you get it exact, you add the speed and quickness. pivot, dribble, behind the back, between the legs, reverse spin, crossover to the reverse layup. Now we'll do it from this side. Pivot, dribble, behind the back, between the legs, reverse, crossover. Now we'll do the drill from the left side using the left hand. Change of dribble to change the vector.